he started saying something like, wow, this chaos, it's been really stressful. It's been really awful. And the only person who can make it better is Jesus. Did you know that? You knew that, right? It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. And on this week's edition of Sunday Sofatime, we're talking about airport scenes like this, and this, and this. Here we are. If you are very observant, you may have noticed there is no sofa behind me. If you're new here, I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I travel all around the world to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it was like to be there. I post vlog-style videos from my travels during the week, and every Sunday I sit down in front of my red sofa at home in Hamburg, Germany, to talk about some travel-related topic. I'm not there right now. I am in Minnesota, in my childhood home. That backyard. Sorry, lamp. That backyard, that's where little Morgan jumped around and played. And in order to get here, I flew from Hamburg through Amsterdam, a large hub in Europe, and into Minneapolis. And the day was stressful from the moment I left my house. And if you follow the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, then you will have seen not too long ago, within the last 2 weeks, I posted a video showing you a letter I got from Lufthansa warning its customers that things are not going to get better in the airports, that they at the moment are not able to give us the service that they would like to, the service that we expect. And it said very clearly in the letter that it is not going to get better soon. And I have experienced all that on the way here. So today I'm going to tell you about all these things that happened to me on the way to Minnesota and tell you a couple things that I think you definitely should try to avoid if you want to have a pleasant travel experience anytime this summer. Let's put it that way.
Let's just take a ride along the bay.
Where I live in Hamburg, it's really easy to get to the airport. There are several different options. I can walk about 3 blocks to the main station and then take a train from the main station to the airport. It takes 29 minutes. If it's the middle of the night, or if it's cold, or if it's raining, I like to splurge and just take a taxi. Gets me there a little bit quicker, and it's just a little bit more comfortable. Let's put it that way. So when I was ready to leave for the airport at 3:30 in the morning, I opened the app, ordered a taxi. It said, Mr. Whatever is on his way. So grabbed my stuff, went down to the street and waited. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and Mr. So-and-so, he didn't come. I opened the app again and it said, oh, your ride has been canceled. What? My flight left at 6:10, and my goal was to be at the airport 2 hours early. And that is the first piece of advice that I'm going to give you right now. If you can't get to the airport 2 hours before your flight, you might as well not even bother going, people. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Don't get to the airport last minute. Don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. And I was trying to get there at least 2 hours early, and I didn't make it because of the taxi situation. And I know this isn't something that's going to probably affect you, and it was a very specific situation, but still, just plan so much extra time. First tip. So in the app, I order another taxi, and the thing just keeps spinning and spinning. I get a message that says something like, oh, all our drivers appear to be busy right now. And that has never happened. So by now, it's already 20 to 4. And I'm thinking, okay, time's getting a little bit tight. I'll just walk these 3 blocks to the main station because there's a taxi stand on, I think, at every main entrance to the station, and I'll just hop in a taxi there. Okay, I've lost 15 minutes, not a big deal. I walk to the train station to the entrance that's close to me, and
there's no taxis there.
So I walk through the main station to the other corner, and there's no taxis there. Back through the station to the other entrance, and there were taxis there, but none of them would take me to the airport because the day before there was a big music festival, a big open air street based music festival in Hamburg. Marcus and I went to it. We had a fantastic time. You're seeing crazy pictures of it here. That's what it was like. And that went on until the wee hours of the morning, and the taxi drivers were more interested in taking a bunch of short trips to get the people from the festival to the station and back and get more tips than they were taking me on one long trip to the airport and just getting one tip. So they were literally letting people out in front of me and then turning off their light and driving away. Thanks, Hamburg taxi drivers. Cute. By the way, somebody very close to us is doing some home renovation projects. You can probably hear the construction noise. It is what it is. This is what you get on the very unofficial travel guides. At this point, it's already 10 to 4, and there's no way I'm gonna make it to the airport by 4 in the morning. My goal of getting there 2 hours in advance is just not gonna happen anymore. So I go down into the station to go to the airport train, and it says next train in 7 minutes. And I think, all right, well, that's the best I can do right now. The train will come in 7 minutes, and then it takes 29 minutes. So I'm gonna get there at 4:30, only an hour and a half before my flight. Kind of stressful. Go down to the platform, says next train, 7 minutes. I'm doing something on my cell phone, probably answering comments, whatever. Look up again, and it all of a sudden then says next train, 9 minutes. So obviously something's not right there. I'm looking around and I realize that's for the 3 or 4 minutes that I had been standing there already, no trains had come at all anywhere. And then I really started to panic because I thought, if no taxis are going to the airport and there's no trains to the airport, then
how am I going to get to the airport?
Like I said, this is the reason to plan so much extra time into even getting to the airport, because you just don't want to be in the situation that I was in. And I did plan extra time. So I go back up to the street and I basically had to beg a taxi driver to let me give him money to take me to the airport. I made it to the airport with a taxi. I think I got there at 4:15. So not too bad, but not fantastic. And the line to check in for the flight was, I would say, a normal distance to check in. They had 4 or 5 counters open. That all went well. But the line to get into the security area of the airport looked like this. It was through the whole terminal into the area where people are checking into their flights. And the woman who was checking me in at the KLM counter, I asked her, I said, listen, I might not make this flight. So if I'm stuck in the line at security and I realize that the flight is gone already, should I stay in the line for security and get through into the gate part of the airport? Or should I just go out of the line and come back here? And this woman looked past me at this huge line and she literally did this.
Well, I don't see that there's a long line today, so I think you're going to be fine.
And I was like, but she gave me my boarding pass. I got into the line for security, and Hamburg is not a huge airport. It's not as big as Minneapolis. It's not a hub airport. It's more like an airport where people start their journeys and then fly to Frankfurt or Munich or Paris or Amsterdam and then get on the flight to where they're actually going if it's someplace outside of Europe. I'm sure, you might live close to an airport like that too. But the amount of people, the line at security, I just thought, there's no way this is gonna work. How am I gonna get through this within an hour? Surprisingly enough, I did. I think it only took me about 35 minutes, which was very deceiving because there were so many people in this line. I didn't have any time to dally around in the airport. I had no time for the expensive serums. That's an inside joke. If you don't know what it is, it's one of the stories in my book, Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. I basically just walked directly through the airport to the gate. They were already boarding and I walked onto the plane. When I arrived in Amsterdam, it was really early in the morning. It was shortly past 7 a.m. That's not a time when you usually expect an airport to be like chock full of people. And my first impression when walking through the terminal was it didn't look too bad, but it didn't take very long. About half an hour, maybe an hour later, as all these flights started to arrive in Amsterdam to transfer for their next destination, it felt really crazy and really stressful and tense. even though I had over 5 hours until my next flight. And because I had so much time, I wanted to try to take care of something that I haven't been able to take care of from home, and that is altering my return flight. I had 5 hours to transfer on my way here, but on the way back, I only have 1 hour to transfer, and I just know from the current situation that it's not going to work. So I'm assuming that the easier situation would be, or the easier solution, instead of just going there and missing my flight and getting rebooked on that day, is to just fix it in advance and get rebooked now. But I haven't been able to contact anybody from customer service. There's this whole thing with booking it in Expedia, and Expedia says we can't do it. You have to book it with the airline. The airline says if you booked it with Expedia, you need to change it with Expedia. It's just not fun at the moment. Nothing about that. The traveling experience has seemed to work like correctly. All right, so I'm in the Amsterdam airport. I have 5 hours until my next flight, and I want to go to the transfer desk to talk with a real person face to face about my return journey. I get to the transfer desk area, and there's a short line of people waiting to do what I want to do as well, and it's not moving very fast. And what happens is the line of people waiting to talk to the transfer desk is very clear and structured where it is, but then a second line starts of people who are there asking if they have to wait in the line. So like people waiting in the line to ask if they need to wait in the line. And it got so frustrating to me, even though I had so much time. There were people in this line who like had an hour to get on the next flight or needed to change something. There were people who were way more desperate than I was. I tried to stay relaxed, but just the atmosphere in this area was so tense because people were constantly trying to jump the line, and they all said, "Oh, I just have a question." And when I got to the front of the line to be the next person who they were coming to pick up to take back to the counter, I became like the unofficial police and security guard for this line. And anytime somebody came and looked like they were going to try to cut in front of me, I just said, "Sorry, there's a line here." They all said,
"Oh, I just have a question."
And Sassy Morgan came out, and I started telling all of them, "Yeah, we all just have a question about our transfer, a question about our gate, a question about our return trip. We all just have a question. So if you want to ask a question, please go wait in the line like everybody else." Not everybody accepted that message with a joyful response, but at least I stood my ground. While I'm standing there, the two guys who were waiting behind me started making jokes with me about all these people I was sending away and about not being able to wait in line. And then people from the end of the line started to like go through this sort of lounge area that was blocked off to just get directly in the line for the counter. Instead of the way it was working was we were waiting in line, somebody would come over, ask what our problem was, and then either solve it right there or send us to the counter. And people started like skipping the line altogether by basically jumping a fence and then just going over into the line for the counter. And the two guys behind me decided they were going to do that too, and I had been sort of having small talk with them. They went and did it. They were there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. The whole structure of the line behind me changed. And then when they all got sent away, one of the guys, who I had no personal connection to whatsoever, came back and acted like we were best friends just so he could stand behind me again. And he said something like, "Hey friend, it's good to see you here again. And I'm just going to take this place in the line again." And I said to him, "Buddy, you do what you're going to do as long as you stay behind me." And then he started up small talk again. He started saying something like, "Wow, this chaos, it's been really stressful. It's been really awful. And the only person who can make it better is Jesus. Did you know that? You knew that, right?" And I said, "Jesus? You think Jesus is responsible for this?" And he said, "Oh, no, the person responsible for this is the Antichrist, and he's coming. You know he's coming, right? There are signs everywhere. Do you want me to show you some of the signs?" And I thought, why does this have to be the guy behind me in line now. I said in the most polite voice I could come up with at the moment, you know what? I don't think that that's what I want to talk about right now here in the airport, but thanks. Let me tell you something. If God is watching down on us right now, I hope that he's taking care of more important problems than us having to wait in line to transfer a flight at the airport. That's all I'm going to say about that. When it was my turn to talk to a real person about fixing this, they also told me they can't fix it. So at the moment, I'm just going to get on this flight that I know is not going to work out and see what happens when I fly back. If you want to get a live update of what's happening, then follow me on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I'll be posting about it this coming Friday is when I fly back, the 15th. That whole experience took me probably 40 minutes, 45 minutes, even though the line wasn't that long. And after that, I still had 4 hours until my next flight, which is a very luxurious problem to have at the moment when you're traveling, I promise you. So I found the Premium Airport Lounge, which is it's a lounge that's not connected to any airline. It's a private lounge that a lot of people who have special credit cards can get into. And I was lucky enough to be able to buy a 3-hour pass to hang out in this lounge. And if you want to see everything that I saw inside the lounge, see the food situation, the drink situation, the bathroom situation, if you want to see all that, make sure you subscribe to the channel here because I'll be posting a video about that coming up after the next video about the Queen Mary 2. I hung out in the lounge. I made it to the gate with plenty of time. I boarded the flight leaving from Amsterdam to Minneapolis. We left the gate and then there was a problem. And I'm going to tell you about it right after this commercial break. Did you get one? What was it about? Write it in the comments below if you wanna. Here's me sitting in the plane thinking, all right, we're leaving on time. Everything's going good. I'm going to get to my family on time. 4th of July can happen. So we left the gate and then there was a problem with the entertainment system, the movies that you can watch in the back of the seat or in the flip up screen. Why am I explaining to you what the entertainment system is? I'm pretty sure you know, right? So we stopped and they had to get some mechanic to come and reset this or restart it. And they said this could take between 20 and 30 minutes and we're going to wait here because we want you to have the entertainment system on the flight. They already announced that the Wi-Fi wouldn't be working. That's not something that would have affected my experience. But when you're on a 9-hour flight, if the entertainment isn't working, that's a bummer. And we ended up sitting there in the plane, not moving for almost an hour until they got the entertainment system working again. I know it's a silly thing to complain about. It's like the question, would you have rather left on time and had no movies or waited and had movies? Honestly, I think leaving on time and having movies is not an unrealistic expectation. But at the moment, it wasn't possible. And that was the experience, at least getting onto my main flight over to Minneapolis. Everything was fine after that. And in fact, somehow my seat got switched and I ended up in the bulkhead seat, which is like where you have no seat in front of you next to the exit row door. And I'm only 5'5" and I kind of felt guilty because there were some big guys on this flight crunched into small seats behind me. And here's me with my little tiny legs. It felt very luxurious. And I was happy for this unofficial upgrade, however that happened. Speaking of unofficial upgrades, if anybody wants to give me an official upgrade for my flight back, if you have miles you need to burn, I would gladly burn them for you. And if you work for Expedia or one of the airlines and can help me switch this flight, also please get in touch. Can't get anybody on the phone. When I arrived in Minneapolis, getting through the immigrations line also went pretty smoothly. My bag was already waiting there when I got through customs and immigration, so I just had to grab my bag and head out. And then the pickup area of the airport was also very chaotic. I've been flying into this airport for 24 years now, and I've never seen it that full and chaotic and stressful and just people everywhere. The main point I'm trying to say is this was not a fun travel experience. It's a luxury thing to be complaining about, I understand, but there are just so many little things not going right at the moment, and they all add up. And my advice to you is, first of all, if you're flying someplace at the moment and you can get a direct flight, even if it costs more, do it. Transferring at the moment is a huge risk because your bags might make it, you might not make the connection. So many flights are being delayed or canceled. And if your journey to your destination includes 1 or 2 or 3 different flights, there is a huge chance right now that it's not going to work out. And that's not how you want your travel to be. So if you can get a direct flight, pay more for it. It's worth it. Another thing, as I've mentioned already, plan for so much extra time. Why not just get to the airport 3 hours early? It's so worth it when you consider that getting there 2 hours early, if, something happens, if there's traffic on the way to the airport, or if the taxis for some reason are striking and there's no trains, 2 hours can become an hour and a half, and an hour and a half could become you not making your flight. And I would rather spend 3 hours sitting in the airport than a half day waiting to get on the next rebooked situation. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say something probably kind of controversial for somebody in my situation, but another piece of advice I have for you is maybe just wait. After this experience, I honestly am not sure that I'm going to be flying to the United States again in 2022. Unless all of a sudden there's direct flights from Hamburg to Orlando, or Hamburg to Miami, or Hamburg to Las Vegas, these places that I'm interested in going in the States at the moment to try things out and film them for you. Unless that happens, I don't want to go through this again right now. And like I mentioned in that letter from Lufthansa, they said it's not going to get better. It's going to stay like this until at least the fall, and more likely 2023. So I kind of feel like if you don't have to travel right now, maybe smaller local trips are better than these big international trips. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Speaking of comments, now usually comes a time on Sunday Sofatime where I comment on your comments, but I'm going to skip it today so I can spend more time with my family. I still have to edit this video together on this beautiful sunny day here. I touched the lamp again. Lamp, lamp, lamp. But a funny thing about the comments is a recent video of mine has been performing extremely well. It's the video about our sheltered balcony cabin on the Queen Mary 2. It's gotten over 120,000 views in the first 2 weeks, and for the very unofficial travel guides, that's doing pretty good. And I'm very happy for the success of that. I'm happy that so many people who have been interested in finding information about these cabins have been able to get it. But to speak a little bit of Minnesotan, oh my gosh, people, cripes. The comments on this video, there are so many people getting on my case for calling this thing that you put water in to boil it. Apparently the only official name for that, no matter where you live, no matter what language you speak, you have to call it a kettle. And I mentioned in the video that it's a kettle or a water cooker or a boiler, and still so many people in the comments are writing something insulting because I insinuated that you could call it something other than a kettle. And I just think, how important is this? Really? And another thing about the comments on that video is I've been pronouncing it Cunard, but the way that people are telling me the proper way to say it is Cunard, like Q, not Cunard. And I live in Germany. I speak German all day. I've lived there for 24 years. I did grow up right here in the United States, but as far as languages go, I speak German mostly. And in Germany, we pronounce it Cunard. And I know, okay, that perhaps is not the most popular way to say it, but it is still, it's not misleading. You know what I'm talking about. But also, so many people in the comments getting on my case for calling it Cunard and not Cunard. Geez, if that's really so important to you, you need to consider what you're doing with your life, okay? I will do my best to call it Cunard in the future, but Cunard or Cunard. I think you know what I mean, right? All right, everybody, thank you for spending this part of your Sunday or whatever day it is that you're watching this with me here in my backyard. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and I will see you again soon.